Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Nguyen, and I'm going to be talking about whether or not the government should be able to ban all gas vehicles wherever you live. But for today, I'll be talking about the state of California, which is where I live. Right. So, what were what were being said about banning gas cars? So apparently, um, Governor Newsom said that California um, wants to increase the sales of all electric vehicles to 35% by 2026. This is a big matter due to the fact that not everyone can afford gas car or not gas, but electric cars because electric cars are not that cheap, right? But there's also some benefits and negatives to it. So by this law that he wants to pass, he wants to prohibit new gas and diesel cars by 2035. That's a big step due to the price being inflated, due to the market being above and beyond, and that the fact that not everyone can make as much money as other above middle class people. It's not that easy. So the goal that they said was to they want to tackle climate change and poor air quality. It's a big step due to just manufacturers. There's other companies that produce more emissions than just electric vehicles. The industrial area itself takes up 40%, which is a lot, right? But there's to prove what he's trying to say, right? There's negative points in owning gas cars because about 1 gallon of gas is about 6 pounds by itself. And when it is burned, it pulls about 14 pounds of oxygen, and the outcome of it would be about 20 pounds, give or take, of carbon dioxide. That's a lot to take in, right? So the making of gas itself is not great for the environment because would you create gasoline, you would have to dig up many places to find the oil, and then once you find the oil, you would have to extract it, and that itself is already taking gas itself to use the machines they're using, right? So in order to get gas, you have to use gas. So the thing about extracting oil is that when you find it, you would have to pull it out and transport it. And when you transport oil itself, you can get a small chance of oil leak, which is not actually that small if you think about it. Because with the amount of oil we're transporting, there's a high chance of oil leaking into our nature system, right? And then when you look about the statistics, right? Gas cars take up about 30% of the emissions in the US alone. That's not including the other countries. In other countries with more population, it would be higher because people would have to go places. However, there are positive on gas cars because it is actually easy to use. Just put in drive, or if you're doing manual, one, two, three, four, five, whatever, right? But it is easy to use. You just gas and go, right? And when you think about it, if you're going on a long trip, you would have to take a break, pump up some gas, and it just go, right? You could easily find a car ranging from 1,000 or even $500. $500 would be the lowest price, and it's easy to find gas cars due to the fact that they were made for a long time, and that you can just open up Craigslist, Facebook Market, and boom, a car's right there. You can just get it. But the only thing you would have to do is just get gas for it or maintenance, basically, right? So if we're going to talk about electric cars, there's also negative points on it, right? Because if you think about it, the lithium battery that they use to charge the car, you would have to get rare earth metals. And there's a study found, or there's a documentary on Vice News where they said the lithium battery and like the cobalt that they extract is actually from countries that are like third world countries. They extract it and they get paid little to no money at all. Like they get 14 cents per kilo. That's absurd because if big companies are trying to get into the electric world, right? You You would have to pay other people to get the materials we need. And that's just absurd to see that they're not getting paid enough for what they're getting to create a better world for us, right? But that's another thing that people are discussing, right? So creating electric vehicles makes more emissions because of the factories. The factories go on nonstop, and you have to, if you think about it, you would have to create an amazing amount of numbers, right? Because like, let's say the law is changing, so basically 75% of the people would have to get electric cars, or else they would get fines. And if you think about it, like even a base model Tesla or any other company that sells their car for electric would they would go for a high amount of price, right? They're getting like 75, $80,000, and that's not that easy to get. That's a lot of money, right? And then if you want to go on a long trip, let's say you're going from, I don't know, San Jose all the way to Los Angeles. That's like 8 hours at most, right? You would have to stop in between two to three like charge spots, and the charging itself is already a long time, right? Because if you think about it, let's say you're charging your phone, you're at like 10%, and then you have to wait until 80% or 90%, right? That'll take about like 50 minutes. That's already a long time. If you think about it from a phone, it's not that big. But if it's a car, it would be bigger, right? So I believe like a typical charge would be about an hour or an hour and a half. That's already a long time, right? And then the charging is just way too long for a trip you need to take, right? But if you go on gas, it would be pump, go, right? That's pretty much easy. So there are positive points to driving electric cars, right? So let's say you spend 80,000 on a car to refill it or recharge it. It would only cost like a few cents. It's not that much compared to gas prices nowadays, which go for $6 or $7. And the low maintenance cost for electric cars is like all you have to do is battery, see if the wires are messed up. That's about it. And you can actually reduce a lot of carbon footprint compared to gas cars, because gas cars, you always are releasing carbon dioxide compared to the electric cars. The electric cars just need to be made, and that's it, right? So there was a thing in Norway where in 2020 they had nearly 75% of their population buy plug-in cars, right? Now, people are wondering why would they buy it, right? What made them want to go to electric? So in Norway, they gave people whoever had electric cars like incentives, like less money, less money to pay for parking, right? It would cost cheaper, and they would give money for them to just plug in their cars wherever they need, and that's like a rebate basically. Like they give you your money back, right? That's pretty convenient if you think about it. They give you money back to just plug in, so you don't have to spend your own money out of that. So that's pretty convenient. And other countries are starting to do that as well. And I believe when Tesla first came out in California, they were giving out free superchargers. But now with the high amount of people doing that, they had to take it out basically. So there's no more free superchargers for a lifetime basically. But that was the incentives given to people when they wanted to move over to electric. So the conclusion I would be talking about is whether or not you should be going to electric or staying gas, right? So it also depends on the person's views on the car, whether you like the look of it, whether you like the way it drives, or you're just cautious about the planet, right? But it also depends on the state you live in as well. California wants to make a law where they ban gas cars and make people drive electric, which is absurd because not everyone can afford that, right? And that if you think about it, the state should not be able to force these on people because not everyone lives a wealthy lifestyle. But at the same time, it's great for the planet. But then you would also have to keep in mind that if you're going to produce as many cars as you want to supply the need, you would have to take in a lot from the planet. and that you would also have to pull out ores, metals from basically countries that we don't memorize, right? It's just crazy. So that's a thing that we have to keep in mind. If we want to move over to a better world, we'd also have to make sacrifices. It is all based on the point of view we're looking at, right? Do we want to look at a place where we want to save the planet, or do you want to look at a way where we could just take things from other countries and just help ourselves, right? That is my presentation on whether or not the government should be able to ban gas cars and force electric. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation today. My name is Brandon Nguyen, and have a nice day.